My first Pokemon game was Pokemon Fire Red. It's an amazing recreation of the clunky and unbalanced Pokemon Red version. It replaced Gen 1's special stat with Gen 2's special attack and special defense. This more than balanced the game, as now Pokemon were not able to gain high offense and defense off of a single stat. They also took out weird interactions like Hyper Beam resetting on kill and Wrap negating one's ability to move, as well as other straight up game breaking bugs that were present in Gen 1. Despite this, as a 7-year-old boy who had only just began to play video games, I often got stuck. In Fire Red, I didn't understand that in order to continue climbing Pokemon Tower, you need the Silph Scope. I had finally gotten my Ivysaur to evolve into a Venusaur and soon made it to the Ghost. Shocked and in horror at my ability to beat it with my newly fully evolved starter, I panicked and reset the game thinking that I lost due to some creepy glitch. Then, we fast forward about a year or so to when I played Pokemon Emerald. I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to deliver the Devon goods to Captain Stern, so again, I reset and started all over thinking I got soft locked. All of this to say, growing up with Pokemon can lead to a lot of misunderstandings, multiple rematches against Norman, taking an entire afternoon in order to beat the Elite Four, and so on. Pokemon Emerald, it's not an entirely easy game, but one's knowledge about Pokemon and their current stage of development will undoubtedly ease the tension. One thing that was clearly apparent in the earlier generations of Pokemon is that the game's difficulty was softly tied to the starter Pokemon that you picked. While a part of me believes that was intentional, it's also important to go back and see what options you had for Pokemon at every stage of the game. Before you fight Brock in Fire Red and Leaf Green with a Charmander, you can level it up to level 13 and have it learn Metal Claw. This was something that only existed in its Fire Red and Leaf Green moveset. In Gen 1, the Steel type wasn't even a thing, and in Gen 3, with your Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, Charmander doesn't learn Metal Claw by level up. And before you fight Roxanne with a Torchic, you can get it up to level 16, it'll evolve into Combuskin and learn Double Kick. If you so choose, you can catch a Sableye right before you fight Brawly and just make him completely unable to play the game. If you're rocking that same Charmander, which is hopefully now a Charmeleon, you can't really do much against Misty with that, so Oddish and Bellsprout can be caught, or if you wanted to play the game that way again, you could have just caught a Pikachu in Viridian Forest. It really is your knowledge of the game and its rock, paper, scissors mechanics that decide the outcome of your playthrough. That and your own decisions. I believe that the true potential of Pokemon, whether casually or competitively, has always come down to how you play first. For that reason, I don't let my initial gameplay be determined by how easy or hard I find it, but by what the game brings to the table. Despite it being the easiest game in the series, I think Pokemon Sword has a lot of things in it that make up for the base game's lackluster performance. For example, this generation has probably the most memorable cast of characters thanks to the introduction of League cards. These cards play a small role in the overall game, but add so much to the characters that I would have loved to see play out more. And if you care enough, you can learn little things about every single major opponent in the game. Usually in the past, this means that in order to learn more about the character, if you missed it in your first playthrough, you'd have to wait till you get to that same point in the second playthrough. But now, with the League card mechanic, you can always go back and read on your favorite characters. I was going to talk a little bit about Hop here, but there's one other character that I think shows just how much effort was put into making memorable characters in Pokemon Sword and Shield. That person's Clara. Now, I've only played Pokemon Sword, so I don't know anything about Avery, but why should I? He's just a nerd with balls floating around his head. The moment you first meet her, Clara is wrongly assumed to be a nice and friendly girl, but almost immediately that gets disproven as you battle her and see that 1, she can be really aggressive, and 2, she uses the poison type. According to the wiki, the number 881 on her uniform can be read as yabai, meaning dangerous in Japanese. These are the purely visual parts of her character that I just love. Through her League card, you learn that she was a pop star who desperately wanted to work her way up in the world. We also learned that her new goal is to become a gym leader, but her lack of will to train leads her to giving up often. Her arc comes to a point where she desperately tries to beat you in the dojo trials. She gets upset to the point where she tries to cheat in order to beat you in one of your trials, but after admitting defeat, the dojo leader Mustard gives her another chance. Then later, once you start the Galarian Star Tournament, she shows up as a minor gym leader of the Poison type gym. Like your rivals, Clara is on a new path thanks to her own short journey of discovery. Now, I'm by no means saying that Pokemon is an artistic masterpiece that rises above other games, but what I am saying is, when you give it the chance to meet you on its own terms, it can still surprise and excite you. As a writer, I have a weak spot for storytelling. I always want to know every single detail of a story that I like. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to get what you put into something. If you're determined to find something you like or enjoy yourself, you might just find that thing that stands out to you. If you've noticed, in this video, my entire team is comprised of dark types. I have Stunky, Zigzagoon, Purloin, and Thievul. This is what me and my pal Darian call the Piers run. In this challenge run, you can only use dark types, and like the Chad Piers himself, can't, or rather refuse, to Dynamax. While I might be doing just fine now against Milo, once I get to Bay, it'll be a whole other experience. I'm currently 23, and that means I've played a lot of Pokemon since Fire Red. Over time, I began to get tired of just playing the standard game, and luckily, everything that I needed in order to change up the experience was already available. This will most definitely come across the wrong way, but I believe that if you can't find any replayability or post-game advances in the modern Pokemon games, you just aren't a hardcore fan of Pokemon. Whether it's as simple as shiny hunting, or completing the Pokédex, competitive battling, or challenge runs, the core Pokemon community can stretch the games a lot further than one might assume. Someone might say, oh, you just beat all the gym leaders, catch them all, beat the Elite Four and become champion. That's all there is to Pokemon. But past that, there are tons of different ways to approach the game. Solo runs, Nuzlocks, monotype runs, speed runs, the list goes on. There are a ton of YouTubers that even try to beat the game with intentionally weak or useless Pokemon. I myself attempted this for the first time during the pandemic. I used Shinx for a solo run of Pokemon Diamond. I managed to get all the way to Cynthia before I stopped. And the only reason that I stopped was because I was not going to commit time to planning out every possible play and resetting over and over again until I beat her. I had already acknowledged that I succeeded in what I set out to do. Speaking of setting out to do something, Pokemon fan games have had an interesting relationship with game difficulty. After X and Y came out, there's been a whole new discussion about the difficulty in Pokemon. In direct relation to this, some people have made Pokemon games with a ridiculous difficulty curve. As a result, a small audience has been totally alienated from what otherwise would have been a good, peaceful, and fun gameplay experience. I know this won't come across well, but Pokemon shouldn't be so hard that you have to waste your time. It's not a traditional JRPG. Pokemon is arguably at its best when every segment of the game flows well and you're rewarded for exploring and talking to people along your journey. Pokemon is supposed to be a feel-good adventure game. That's why we were able to enjoy it so much as kids. But I couldn't make a video about Pokemon's difficulty without talking about Black and White. The 5th generation of Pokemon is undoubtedly the ideal version of Pokemon. Every time I play through my copy of Black 2, I am assaulted by challenge after challenge from as early as the first gym and Sharon's workup strategy. It is important for me to note, however, that Pokemon by this point had 4 other generations of games, all of which evolved and contributed to Gen 5's eventual success. Gen 2 offered special attack and special defense alongside breeding and gender. Gen 3 offered natures, which boosted Pokemon's base stats, and Gen 4 finally implemented the physical and special split, allowing Pokemon like Infernape and Blaziken to finally take advantage of their physical stats. The idea to make Generation 5 a sort of soft reboot, replacing just about every Gen 1 Pokemon with a new and improved version, also contributed greatly to the diversity of the game. As much as I'd like to say we could get a game like this again, the formula's already been perfected. Same goes for the streamlining of competitive battling. Ever since Gen 6, we've been given more and more tools for competitive battling. With the power of Wi-Fi connection, we can get Pokéwrestle a lot easier. Not only that, with Surprise Trade, we can easily get Pokemon that are competitively ready. All we gotta do is hop them up with EVs. Not only that, there's the buffs to power items, as well as the ability to now change our Pokemon's nature and Hyper Train to get perfect IVs. This brings me to Legends Arceus. If Pokemon's able to turn a new page here and reinvent their core gameplay experiences, then in another 5 to 10 years, the focus on lighthearted adventure might just return. I gotta admit, I don't spend all my time playing Pokemon. As of this recording, I only have about 500 hours on my main game of Sword, but even that is probably a lot more than some. I also don't believe that Game Freak made Pokemon Sword and Shield the best game it could be, but I'd like to think that they did a good job of delivering the core experiences. The fun thing about Pokemon is that you don't have to follow many rules. If you want to play the game with 6 copies of the same Pokemon, you can do that. If you only want to use Pokemon from the debut region, or exempt Pokemon from the debut region, you can do that too. How you play the game will inevitably have an impact on the difficulty of the game. If the standard run wasn't all it was cracked up to be, you can definitely turn it around with a bit of creativity. Now, if you've watched this far, I just want to thank you. I've never made a video like this, and I kind of didn't intend to. I just sort of woke up today and decided this is what I was gonna do. So thanks for putting up with me. I didn't really get all of my main points across, but perhaps I'll make more videos and slowly get better at it. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't call me, please text instead, and I'll see you next time.